Speech 2. Hello everyone, I'm Natalie Williams, and today I want to ask you, would any of you consider drinking a glass of water like this?
No.
I don't think that I would. But it's funny how often I don't think about what goes into getting a water to look like this, something that you want to drink. In Ames, the water is treated at the Water Treatment Center of Ames, and it serves about 13,000 families, homes, and it cleans about 13,000 gallons of water per day. And so because of this, people in Ames are able to drink clean water and not have to worry about it being dirty, and this is really good for health. So they have a history of contributing to the city. They use common practices that are well known, so the water is clean and to a standard, and they have a desire to continue serving and to continue developing there. So I'm going to start by telling you about the history of the Water Treatment Center. Water treatment process in Ames began around 1891 is when they first established their waterworks plant. And at the beginning, this was just basically a holding place to keep the water from being contaminated. And this eventually turned into a place where they began filtering and doing chemical treatments and just continuing to grow as the need in the city grew. In 1927, a big addition was they added filters. They kind of have just continued to move along as society continues to grow and develop in their processes that they use for water. And so the most important thing is, what do we do with the water? How does it go from being dirty to being clean? It begins by a filtration process, says James Allman, who is a professor, and he taught us about the water treatment process. And so it begins with this filtration, and this just helps get out all the dissolved chemicals in it so that the water doesn't have sulfurs and things like that stuck in it. And then they add lime to it and put it into big mixing tanks at the city of Ames, and you can find this on their website about how they describe the process that it goes through. And so these big tanks, they just mix the lime up, and the lime and the chemicals coagulate and they form bigger particles, which is good because these help settle out the bad things in the water. And so after this, after they've been mixed for a long time, they get sent to clarifiers where they add chlorine and they add fluoride here. Fluoride is good for your teeth, and then chlorine is really good at disinfecting and getting rid of bacteria. And so these big particles that have been mixing around and combining settle out, and the water is then sent through filters to get it even cleaner, to get out even more of this junk that you can't see with your normal eye. And from there, they refilter it, they carbonate it, because it's really important, the pH of the water, for human health as well. If it was too acidic or too basic, it would hurt us. So they have to be very, very aware of where the pH is at. And they continue to just grow in new technologies. One that they're learning about right now is UV. But they look back at their history of where they came from in 1927, how they began their filters, says the Historical Society. And so they look forward to the future of where they're going to go. Ames is completely paid for by themselves. They don't take taxpayer money, but because of what they charge for the water, which is about $1 per 1,000 gallons, which is the cheapest commodity that you can buy to drink, or liquids at all. And the new plant is going to cost $70 million, says the Ames Water Treatment Center, but this will all be paid for by themselves. And some big changes that they're going to make is they're going to move all of the equipment inside, which is really good since it's a snowy climate. This will keep everything better cleanness and more effective. It will need less upkeep because of this. And they're also going to increase the amount of wells that they use, because the society that they serve is growing, and so they need to provide more resources and continue to be above the curve so Ames doesn't find themselves in a place where this is the only thing that they have to offer. And so, in conclusion, I hope that you think about what you're drinking more after listening to my speech, that you realize that there's a lot more that goes into the process than you realize, and that water doesn't always just look clean. It has to go through this process, that there's a lot of things that there are standards that they have to keep, and there are a lot of things that Ames does specifically to make sure that the people that are drinking their water are satisfied. And so they look at their history and they keep moving along with common practices, and then they look towards their future of where the process is going to go. So think about what you drink and appreciate it.